Hi, I'm Steve-O. Pigs like Nikki are some of the smartest animals on Earth, even smarter than the dogs and cats we live with. That's why I stopped eating meat, and it was so easy it's ridiculous. If you make the same choice, every year you will personally spare 31 animals like Nikki from a life of daily misery, and I'm here to help.
He's a guy who knows how to make people laugh. Steve-O is a household name, performing wild stunts with the rest of the Jackass crew. Check it out.
You ready, Steve-O?
No.
Order up! Blue Cocktail Supreme!
But Steve-O, who would do anything for a laugh, is getting real serious. In an effort to highlight the horrors of factory farming, Steve-O took part in a new documentary by the amazing organization Farm Sanctuary called What Came Before. Now, I have to warn you, some of these images are disturbing, but it's important that we witness it for a second so we can do something about it, because together we can change this. Look.
As terrible as the flood was for Nikki and her babies, it actually saved their lives, because what came before was even worse. At a nearby factory farm, Nikki had spent her entire life locked in a metal cage, so small she could barely move. Pigs like Nikki are raised in such cramped conditions that they often go insane from stress, abuse, and lack of mental stimulation.
Straight out to the one and only Steve-O. Steve-O, I'm so happy to see you. Congratulations on your new show, Killer Karaoke. We're going to talk about that in a second. But first, tell us why you got involved with this new documentary, What Came Before, with Farm Sanctuary.
I honestly, I can't really remember. I just suppose I heard about it, and I wanted to kind of get behind the message, so I said I would be happy to help.
I think it's an extraordinary documentary. It really tells the story of three animals, a pig and a cow and a chicken, that escaped from factory farms. Let's take a look at the first, Nikki, the pig.
When devastating floods hit Iowa, Nikki was washed away from a factory farm. Nikki swam for miles before making her way to a levee, where she built a nest, gave birth to 7 piglets, and spent the next week protecting them from the flood.
I love this documentary because there are 9 billion farm animals raised and killed for food in these factory farms that are unimaginable, that Americans are finally standing up against. But you tell the story of an individual pig, and people can relate to an individual where they can't relate to a statistic like 9 billion. Talk to me about that, Steve.
Well, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Whenever you can even give one of these animals a name, I think you're doing something pretty major. You know, because people just like to think of it as people don't want to think of their meal as a living thing that has a name or a personality or anything like that. And by talking about just one pig, you know, I don't know. I think you really get through to people in a special way.
Yeah, this documentary is amazing. We're going to tell you where you can see it. What Came Before, Farm Sanctuary, put it together with Steve-O. Now, Steve, you said you gave up meat, and then about a month later, you went into rehab to get sober. So you and I have something in common, because I'm sober and I'm a vegan. But were they related to you? Did giving up meat feel like a first step in sort of creating a different... Tell me about that.
Well, and by the way, I love that we have that in common so much, Jane.
Me too.
People who are in recovery talk about building self-esteem through esteemable acts. Basically, you do stuff that you feel good about, and the end result is that you have improved self-esteem. And I found that my diet choices really did that for me. And it's an esteemable act when you make the choice to be compassionate in your diet. And at first, I just stopped eating meat except for fish. And the result was I felt so good about it, and I was really so rewarded by that I wanted to do more and more. And I have a friend who works for PETA named Michelle, and I would call up Michelle with different questions, Like I remember being, I was buying a new pillow for my my halfway house that I was living in, and I called up Michelle and I asked her, Michelle, are pillows that have feathers in them cruel? And Michelle said, "Oh yeah, they're terribly cruel. You know, they're ripping these feathers out of birds while they're still alive, and it's just horrible." So I made the decision to buy a pillow that didn't have feathers, and I never ever made any kind of sacrifice for making that decision. You know, it's just as good of a pillow, the one that didn't have feathers. And again, the result was I felt like I did something good, and I felt good about it, and improved my self-esteem. So more and more, I just found ways to make decisions that were more compassionate, and I just wound up being a full-on vegan.
And it's amazing because I interviewed you quite a few years ago when you were still not sober, and we had a fun conversation, and we felt a connection, and who knew that here years later we would both be vegan and sober. And I know you're changing because so many kids look up to you, boys, guys, and girls. And so you're changing hearts and minds with your own actions. And people look at you and say, wow, you know, I like this Steve-O. You're a very smart guy, but I got to say, I like this Steve-O, the sober vegan Steve-O. More on the other side.
When it's time for leaving, you'll understand. I was born a rambling.
All right, that is Killer Karaoke, a very funny new show on our sister channel, True TV. It airs at 9 p.m. on Fridays. Got to check it out. Steve-O, you and I have more in common. Okay, we're both vegan, we're both sober, and I also have rescue dogs, and you have 2 rescue pups. Let's check out this clip, and then we'll talk about it.
Getting a dog for me was like getting a cell phone. You know, as soon as you get it, you think, how did I ever live without this? And what would I ever do if I didn't have it anymore, you know? Like, that's how I feel about my dogs, man. They've enriched my life so much. I gotta show a picture. See here? That's Walter and that's Bernie.
Oh, I love it. And you're what, skateboarding with them? Now, how are you impacting other kids? I mean, you are the key demo, that 18-year-old teenage boy. How are you impacting them in terms of their lifestyle?
How am I impacting boys?
Yeah, in other words, are people coming up to you at various events and saying, you know, I'm hearing what you're saying about compassionate eating, and I'm hearing what you're saying about adopting animals and not shopping for them. I'm hearing what you're saying about these factory farm animals, or not?
You know, I imagine that, I mean, certainly there's been some people that said that, you know, that they've become vegan, they stopped eating meat, they got sober, they, you know, I guess that there's certain people that I have had some influence on. I'm sure there's a lot of other people who think that I'm soft and not crazy anymore. But
well, that's a good thing.
Too much.
That is a good thing. And before, I want to show this other clip of Fanny the cow. This is from the movie you're involved in. She was unable to stand after living in a factory farm, but there's a happy ending. Check it out.
At just 4 years old, Fanny was so sick and crippled from her life on a farm that she was unable to even stand before being rescued and brought to Farm Sanctuary. Cows like Fanny are intelligent. They remember faces for years.
Tell him. All right, 20 seconds. What do you have to say to Fanny, the cow that escaped from the factory farm?
Well, I just hope that everything's cool. You know, I think that, I don't know, I should say it more than that. I think that a lot more people are waking up to the cause. And, you know, I mean, Albert Einstein, he was vegan. Leonardo da Vinci was vegan. You know, these guys were smart dudes, and more and more people.
Bill Clinton has gone vegan.
That's right. Yeah.
Mike Tyson has gone vegan. A lot of people are going vegan.
I know, it's becoming kind of a good thing, and you know, people need to wake up to the health risks of eating meat. You know, if everybody was vegan, we wouldn't have the problems with heart disease, diabetes, obesity, You know, all kinds of even cancer, you know. People would be a lot healthier if everybody was vegan.